You mean bread and butterflies?
Oh, yes, of course.
There you go.
It low-key bothers me that what I'm about to say might come across as controversial or illogical, but I really need you, whoever it is that you're watching, to have an open mind, to really listen to what I'm about to say, because I actually truly think that most people agree with what I'm about to talk about. So I'm here to talk about work, okay? There is a huge difference between having a job and working. Okay, everything is work. My approach to working is anything that exerts energy, anything that makes you either mentally, physically, emotionally have to exert energy. I mean, if we really want to go into the nitty-gritty of things, you are using your brain to think, and while you are using your brain to think, you are using those calories. You are literally using caloric energy to think. That is work. Our concept of work, especially in this modern world, it is so flawed. We have mistaken having a job for work. There are millions of people who are unemployed worldwide. That does not mean that they are not working. And if we really want to go into another layer of this, we need to also take into consideration the fact that people are all different, right? Who would have thought? Human beings, different. Not everyone operates in the same way. Not everyone has the same story, right? We all have our differences. Some people have disabilities. Some people have chronic illness. Some people have mental illness. We have things that directly impact our productivity. Some of those things you can't see. They're not things that are physical. A lot of people have disabilities that are invisible. They are impaired in ways that the eyes cannot see. But that does not mean that they are not working. If you are getting out of bed every single day, even when you truly don't want to, you are working. If you are getting up to go use the bathroom, even if that's all you could do that single day, you worked. You probably worked harder than someone that sat in an office all day. But the way that we measure work, the way that we measure our worth and our productivity, it is so backwards. And it truly does enrage me, because I do think that most people, if they truly think about it, they will come to that same conclusion about work. Everything is work. Every little thing you can think of that exerts energy is work. We all work. Every single person, every human being works. We move, we think, we create. Even the simplest of things, that is work. But not everyone has a job. And we've created a system where if you don't have a job, you can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't have a roof over your head, you can't have clothes on your back. So you have to find ways to get your basic needs met because you don't have paper. You don't have a piece of paper. You don't have a number on your screen. I feel really, really deeply and passionately about this because I have been unemployed technically for the past couple of years. On and off, I haven't had a long-term job in a really long time, but I have worked the hardest I have ever worked my entire life. And can't nobody tell me that I am not a hard worker. I work really fucking hard. And not to sound arrogant or higher than thou, because I truly do not think of myself as higher than anyone. Who the fuck am I to say that? You know what I mean? We are all humans, period. There is no hierarchy. It doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. It doesn't matter what your job title is. That's all bullshit. Throw that shit out the window. We don't need that. But what we need to understand is that everything is work. The person who has disabilities is working probably, again, so much harder than your average Joe. The person who has a chronic illness or a mental illness is probably overworking themselves so much more than your average Jane down the street. But we don't see it as that. We don't view it as that. That is not what our society says, because our society tells us that unless you have money in the bank, unless you have a job title that people look up to, unless you have income, you're not working. But I need people to drill it into their heads. I need people to understand that everything is work. Getting out of bed, brushing your teeth, going to the laundry, right? Going to the supermarket. These might seem like errands, right? But that is work. The hardest workers of them all, mothers. What would the world be without mothers? But all of that labor, the house labor, the homekeeping, that is work. That is the hardest work of them all, caregiving. Ask me how I know. I have worked the hardest I've ever worked in my entire life, and I have been without a job. We need to understand that everything is work. Everything. Anything you can think of is work. Because there is a clear difference between a job and work. Everyone works. Every human being on this planet works. Everyone. But not everyone has a job. We need to get that right. So we need to stop tying our self-worth to our jobs, because everyone is hardworking. That just looks different. Just because it looks different doesn't mean that it's wrong. What your hard work looks like, it could be different. Depends on the people, depends on the person, right? Because everyone is different. Maybe your hard work looks like someone else's, or maybe it doesn't, but it's still work. The only difference is that someone might be getting paid for their work and you might not be. They might have that as a job and you might just be working because you need to survive. Everything is work, and I really hope that made sense. I know I just said a lot, but I just want people, especially people that have been unemployed for a long time, who think that they're in a position where they think they're losing their minds and they think that they're not a useful member of society or a productive member of this world. You are worthy just because you exist, period. No job can give you that. No amount of money can give you that. Everything is work. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You are working.
You mean bread, butterflies?
Oh, yes, of course.